Hello, and welcome to that Eurovision podcast, Eurovision with a Slice of Life. My name is Rory, and I'm doing pretty well today, actually. I've just made myself a lovely curry, and I am just here. I'm ready, and we are in Eurovision national final season, which is gorgeous. And yeah, I'm really looking forward just to getting into this now. And yeah, joining me.
Jazzy, it's been a really, really good week, and I'm just really excited that national final season has finally started up. And I'm very excited to talk about stuff that's been going on this week.
Hi, it's Rosie. I have spent my day going out for a walk with my dog, which has been wonderful.
Aww.
And I've just made a roast dinner. So I'm in a very, very happy mood and very, very excited to be discussing the first set of sort of big. No, that's a lie. Vic is big, but sort of the first major weekend of national finals.
In the first weekend where we've had more than one go on at the same time.
Yeah. Trying to keep up with both of them has just been an absolute hilarity. I'm not going to lie.
Yeah. Is that where Tim is this week? Is he using his time turner to go back and watch the other national final that he didn't watch yesterday?
I think so, yeah. I think, you know what, Kano's power was just too much, and he missed out on twosome with I Love My Bear, and now he needs to, change that. He needs to go back and see it.
He needs to go love his bear.
I thought you said for a moment he's missing a twosome, and I was like, isn't that just normal monogamy?
Tim, don't be judging here.
Let's be honest, twosome have became a foursome, because there was definitely four of them on stage last night. And yes, I'm including the bear.
Good. The bear is basically a B-Tech Reva Beaver, but that's okay. We love to see it.
Erica Vickman's impact.
Oh, dear. But yeah, so as we do not have a Tim again this week, it is just us three that's going to be once again covering the news that has been going on over the past 7 days. That's all things Eurovision. So yeah, shall we all get started?
Let's started.
Let's get started.
This is TEP News, led by Jazzy.
Okay, so the first bit of new news I think we should really get into is the national final result. Is some national final news that went on last night in Norway and Lithuania. So in Norway, Blazeman featuring Hazel won the heat with their song Let Loose. This doesn't mean it is over for the other three songs, I'm so sorry, that were in the heat, which were Stina Tallinn with Elevate, Yawn with Faith Bloody Faith, and Beady Bell with Play with Fire, and because they will return on the 30th of February for a chance at the wild card. Kano also performed their pre-qualified song Monument, and Tix performed his pre-qualified song Ut av Morket, which he has said he will be translating into English should he win MGP. What are our thoughts on what went down in Norway last night?
Do you want to start, Rosie, because you led the coverage for us?
I did. It was certainly an interesting evening, and I know I said this last week. This is my first Melody Grand Prix, so I wasn't quite sure what I would be expecting. I wasn't a huge fan of the dual format. I felt it was sort of needlessly repetitive, and as much as I liked getting to hear the songs I liked multiple times, I did feel like it wasn't an especially long night, and I didn't need to hear the same songs twice, especially when we're going to hear the ones that didn't qualify again for the wildcard week. But it was a very well presented evening. Really, really enjoyed watching it. And It was a really high quality group of performances. I probably swing out of the acts that weren't pre-qualified. I possibly swing slightly more towards Elevate than I do to Let Loose. But I think Let Loose is a really fun song. I think it's very in keeping with that sort of 80s meets Sunstroke project type of vibe. And I'm looking forward to hearing it again. Out of the songs that I've not mentioned, BD Bell with Playing with Fire, I thought it was great staging. Didn't have the same impact as the other songs, I think. I thought it was great, but it didn't stand out in the same way that the others did. And Yawned with Faith Bloody Faith, I have very mixed feelings on, because as anybody who has listened to episodes of this podcast previously will know, I love anything that is in a sort of slightly non-conventional genre. I love anything that's a little bit different and a little bit out there. And as a piece of music, I really, really liked it. I thought it was such fun, proper 80s metal type stuff. But the lyrics are very sort of old man yells at cloud. It feels like a guy who's a little bit too superior, because did you know that religions are all bad, actually? And it makes me feel a little bit uneasy hearing that. I find it it sort of lacks nuance, I think. And it's frustrating because I really, really like the song. I just think the message of it is not especially well presented, I think. Those are my thoughts on the acts that were competing yesterday. What are your thoughts?
I really liked 3 of the songs that were up for the qualification. I really liked Elevate. I really liked Faith Bloody Faith, and I really like Let Loose. So I'm glad Let Loose has made it into the final. I'd probably lean more towards Elevate just because it's more. I don't know if it's more contemporary or it's more my sort of music. That may surprise some people. Some people may think that I would have led more towards Let Loose because obviously I love Sunstroke Project in Eurovision, but I don't know. I just really enjoyed Elevate. I did like Faith Bloody Faith as well. It felt a little bit 2006, but for me that doesn't really matter to me. And I think it was a really good song. I have not managed to see the live show as I was busy live tweeting the other national final that occurred last night, which we will come on to soon. Wasn't a big fan of Playing with Fire, but some songs aren't going to be for everyone. Rory, what were your thoughts on the songs in Melody Grand Prix last night?
Well, the problem with me, I guess, is the fact that I didn't actually get to listen to any of the national final songs from Norway. I did hear Monument because I'd seen a lot of hype for it, and so I wanted to see what all the hubbub was about. And I'm sure that Kana will do exceptionally well, and I'm pretty sure they will be a contender for the win in MGP. Whether or not it is a winner for Eurovision, I don't know. Personally, I mean, if you've listened to this podcast on several episodes, you'll know that I've not really been the biggest fan of Spirit in the Sky. But I mean, there's a lot of potential there. But it'll need time with me, I think, and whether or not that goes in a good direction or a bad direction, we'll have to wait and see. Honestly, I'll have to check in with you a bit later. If I'm very honest, though, I didn't really get to listen to any of the songs. I think I heard a little clip of Let Loose, and I think I liked it. I'll need to go back and double check that, though. So but so far, I mean, the reception to the results in Norway have been pretty positive, I'm assuming. So far so good. I'm going to be paying more attention to Melody Grand Prix next week, just because I was a little bit like Jazzy. I was focusing more on the other national selection that we had, but I'm looking forward to seeing what's there, and I think there's a lot of potential in Norway as well. We've discussed, so we have a lot of there's a lot of potential to really bring things out.
Yeah. I feel like it's a perfect time to move on to our second national final that happened last night, which is Padom is now Joe, which is the Lithuanian national final. Me and Rory both watched Lithuania last night, and I don't know if Rosie has heard any of the songs.
I've caught up on the songs.
You've caught up.
Hey.
Yeah. The songs that did qualify last night were Valdemar Peterson's Never Fall For You Again, Titius Ibina's No, Martina, Thank You Very Much, Militar, Shadows, and BU, Love Yourself.
Express yourself. Love yourself.
Love yourself.
Unfortunately, Twosome, I Love My Bear did not make the semi-final. And that makes me so very sad. We love our bears. Sadly, Lithuania did not.
This is a bestiality stan podcast.
Really?
Of the songs that did qualify, I actually quite liked all of them. In their own little way. I found Never Fall For You Again very, it was quite, it was a little bit, he had the guitar, and it was different, but it was, it was quite a fun song. Titius and Ibinas, No, kind of reminded me of something that, it was just two boys singing a ballad. I enjoyed it. Martina, Thank You Very Much was a bop, an absolute bop. I feel like Eurofans will really cling to it. Milta Shadows was kind of ballady, but her vocals were really, really, really good. And BU, Love Yourself. It had this 80s retro vibe, like a lot of the songs that we're seeing in the national final. I don't know if it was in the best way or not, but that vibe was there, and it got through to the semi-final, so that must be doing so. And that it was probably down to the retro vibe that the song had, because it's just very in nowadays. But yeah, what were your thoughts on the qualifying songs?
I mean, I was watching it with my Lithuanian housemate, who was very handy in being able to sort of translate everything that had been going on, because otherwise I would have been absolutely hopeless. I liked pretty much the majority of the songs that were in there. There was a lot of potential, and I know it's going to be something that I'm going to talk about all the time about potential, but I really did like it. I thought there was a lot of good songs in the heat. Personally, I don't necessarily think Never Fall For You Again should have won the semi-final. Well, not the semi-final, won the heat. Because it wasn't really my cup of tea, and from what I've seen on social media, I don't think it was anyone else's. But usually when it comes to the heats and stuff like that, not many people are voting, so I'm pretty sure had there been a lot more people paying attention and watching the show and actually voting, then I think that would completely change the result. I pretty much I had four proper favorites that I were hoping to qualify. Three of them got in: Martina, BU, and Milita. I think BU is pretty much the most sort of contemporary, sort of friendly kind of song that they had in that selection that qualified. I think Shadows was pretty good, which was by Milita. I think she kind of needs a little bit more time to kind of develop the vocals, though, and obviously it makes she is a seasoned performer, obviously, because she had won the Lithuanian version of X Factor. But I think, and of course, Martina, I was a little bit saddened to see that she had changed the name of the song from "Fuck You Very Much" to "Thank You Very Much." However, however, well, she did decide to basically not necessarily include the word "fuck," but pretty much pronounce the word "thank" in a very, very misconstruing way. But I liked the results. I think I'm happy that most of my favorites have made into it. I'm very sad for Twosome, and I'm looking forward to next week. I think, you know, everyone's kept shitting on Pabanda Mishnoyo for being a little bit more sort of Eurovisio Tranca than last year. But when this is a country that isn't really used to being a favorite, they don't really know how to handle like all of the production levels and the hype and everything. So, maybe we should just stop having really deep, expectations, really high expectations for countries that typically aren't really like that. Anyway, carry on.
Like for me, certainly from when I was watching the songs back, there were sort of two observations that I had. The first one is that I could really tell the difference in atmosphere between MGP and Pavando Misnoyo in terms of the lack of audience there. The sort of set for Pavando Misnoyo felt very empty. And
yeah, I will agree
sort of
with
lacking that atmosphere. And I feel like MGP did a much better job of sort of compensating for that. And I feel like that hurt a lot of the songs when I was listening to them because there wasn't that sort of atmosphere to really sort of vibe to and pick up on. The only songs that really stuck in my head were this is a weird episode because I'm actually disagreeing with Rory. And
what?
Our tastes are usually pretty similar. Like, on the one hand,
it's usually just you two fighting me.
I don't like this. I don't like this.
Like, I'm a huge fan of Monument, and I didn't get the chance to say that earlier because we moved on too fast, but I fucking love Monument, and I'm absolutely here for it. And actually Monument also... Too. The only songs that really stuck in my head were Black Spikes. Again, love a bit of female rock, and Voldemar's. I thought that was really a sweet, charismatic sort of performance. And that did really stick with me. And I really struggle to remember a lot of the other songs that I've listened to so far, and I've only listened to them once. So that probably hasn't helped. I haven't had that time to get attached to them yet. But none of the others have really stuck out to me. I think, again, Twosome were absolutely robbed because that was such a breath of fresh air in that semi. I think it was so much fun. It brought so much energy, and it is that energy that I felt was so lacking with a lot of the other performances. And I don't think it's the fault of the artists for the most part. I think it's due to the fact that there was no audience, there was no situation, they couldn't control that. But I felt
Twosome had an advantage where they weren't on their own on stage, while a lot of the artists were, and they had nobody to feed off. So
absolutely.
Like to us, watching Twosome should absolutely qualify, but obviously not the case.
Yeah, I think part of it as well was like a lot of the songs were very much, they either had dancers and they didn't necessarily do that well, or they were like, what's the right way of saying it? Like, or they were practically like on their own, kind of just standing there or trying to move about, but it just didn't really work in the same way, if you know what I mean.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. But honestly, we just have to try and carry on as best as we can, really, with it. But
yeah, absolutely. And this is circumstances that none of us can help, and they did a great job with those circumstances. I think it's just so difficult for the artists. And I think similar things happened with Fick. And I'm sure the artists for MGP probably had a very similar experience. And this is not the last national final we are going to watch with no audience. So I think it's going to be something that we see throughout the season. And that's a huge shame. But
it'll just be how different delegations, different countries deal with the situation at hand.
Yeah, and I'd rather people survived than be at a national final for a year.
Yeah.
Like, that's fine.
Right, shall we move on?
I think while we're talking about audiences and the pandemic, we should quickly go on to what is happening in Israel. Israel have cancelled their live national final. As a result of this, the vote for the 3 songs will open on Tuesday with a small show, and there'll be another small show this Saturday revealing the winner. This is due to lockdown restrictions in Israel, which pretty much prevent Ellen from taking part due to obviously the various strains of the virus. So, what are our thoughts on this?
I think it's an entirely understandable way to do it. I feel like this year Israel's national selection has been a complete fucking mess.
Yes.
And things have kept changing. And that it's been such a clusterfuck, to be quite honest. But I am absolutely fine with them doing a national selection on like the music videos based on the songs. And I feel like, I mean, we've seen it be very successful before with the Czech Republic. So I think it's a completely reasonable way of doing things. I will be it is a shame not to hear Eden perform these songs live, especially when you're making that decision. But needs must. It's a thing that has to happen. And like I say, I'd rather people survive than be at a national final.
Yeah, I feel like it's complete. If Israel deem it necessary to cancel a national final to stick with their lockdown rules, then that is totally an okay thing to do. It also sets a very good example that even TV shows, which in the UK would probably still go ahead, like some countries are choosing, no, not even these TV productions will go ahead. We will protect everyone at all costs. And I think that's a really good example to set, personally.
Yeah, I think, like, I can totally understand why they're doing it, because, if we're going into another lockdown, then, you have to, like, obey the rules of the country, I think I'm kind of on the same boat with Rosie here. It's a bit of a shame that we can't hear these performances live, because obviously, that's the best sort of chance to show, your vocal strengths, and like, because a lot of the time, when you have a lot of these sort of studio version only performances, a lot of the time we end up sort of missing out on a lot of the texture of a live vocal performance, and then that can end up either really hindering or really helping a performance. But I think in this case it could potentially hinder it. But Eden knows what she's doing. I think Khan knows what they're doing as well, so we might as well just leave them to it, because we know they know what they're doing, and they're making sure that all of the respective sort of protocols are being met. They're making sure that everyone is staying safe. They're making sure that everyone is doing stuff like that. And personally, I would rather everyone stay safe and then actually, celebrate wherever they want to be, rather than, in a national final, in a setting where there could be like tens of people, and we don't want to have any extra people to potentially catch the virus, because, we wouldn't want to wish that on anyone, would we? So, yeah.
It also means we're not getting the opportunity for a cherry red type situation.
Oh, no. Can we not, please?
Yeah. Talking of national finals, well, not being cancelled, but being at risk, I think another one that we need to talk about is Italy's Sanremo.
Yeah.
While this national final has nothing official has happened yet. But there is a new lockdown in Italy, which is extended until the 5th of March, I think. Yeah, 5th of March. And Sanremo is due to run from the 2nd to the 6th of March. In Italy, TV productions can still go ahead without an audience. However, this is not RAI's preferred method. So there is a chance that Sanremo gets delayed. And if so, it questions how will they select their Eurovision entrant, because obviously the 5th of March is the last possible Saturday that they can use to select their participant in time for the EBU's deadline. So there is obviously the option that it could go ahead without an audience, but with Italy quite favouring their audience, there's a chance that this obviously will not happen and they will choose to postpone it until April. What do you think in the event should this happen? Should Italy do it about their 2021 Eurovision participant?
Well, the thing is, I've just had the look on here, because usually around here, like Melody Festival, and is usually like the last sort of national final to take place. And I'm just looking here. The last, like the final of Melody Festival is supposed to be the 13th of March. So
so they do have another week then. I thought it was the last possible week.
Yeah, I was thinking the same thing actually until I just checked on the Wikipedia. I think they could have that if they were willing to do a sort of 8th to the 13th current thing. I think that might maybe work for them, because at least then they're still using Sanremo as a national final per se, because of course the big drama with Italy, usually with Sanremo, is that the winner of Sanremo usually gets first refusal, but they can choose to deny it, in which case then it has to go down the ladder, and that can take days. For example, that's how it was with Francesca Michele in 2016. So they're kind of really cutting it a bit thin. So if they're planning to do, if they're still planning on using Sanremo as a national final method, then they'd have to sort of make sure within the rules that the person that would win Sanremo would have to then accept going to Eurovision. Otherwise, they'd have to go for an internal selection then. And I personally don't think that given the rising popularity and the growing popularity of Eurovision in Italy now, I don't know how well that could come off to a lot of the artists participating. So it really is all up in the air for me, I think.
Because RAI have said they are considering going for the second week of April after Easter, which is obviously way after the deadline. And it's probably down to the artist. Do they want to, at that point, do they want to do Sanremo more, or do they want to go to Eurovision more? Because if there's a certain artist in Sanremo that are competing to go to Eurovision, they may choose an artist, say, from that bunch who aren't as bothered about competing in Sanremo, and internally select one of them, because obviously within Sanremo's rules, you can own we hear the song for the first time on the night of their first performance. So obviously, if they performed at Eurovision and we heard their song for the Eurovision Song Contest, they would not be within the rules of Sanremo for the second week of April, because obviously their song would already have to be commercially released before the 13th of March. So Italy have a lot to think about in terms of Eurovision, in terms of Sanremo, and how to make it all work, really. But I think they can do it.
I think what they did last year, from what I remember, is they asked the participants of Sanremo before the contest whether they would want to go to Eurovision or not. So that would mean that it would be quite easy to sort of go down the list and just say, hey, this is the highest person who said they were willing to go to Eurovision. Okay, let's send them. But that would, of course, only work if they were doing their national final on the 13th of March or earlier. I would, if they do then delay it, I really would if this is a thing that is feasible for them and a thing that they would want to do and would work out, I would really quite like them to internally select Diodato, because he did seem really, really keen for Eurovision last year. And if he's got songs that would be eligible that he hasn't released, or that is sort of new material, and he wants to bring that to Eurovision, and RA, I agree. I think that would be really lovely. It would be a massive shame for the groups that would be, and for the artists that would be competing in Sanremo later if they did want to go to Eurovision, but it's not their only chance to do so. They can enter Sanremo in later years if they do in 2022 and beyond. And I've even been saying it about this year's artists, the 2020 artists, who are not coming back for national finals, and it would be a similar sort of situation. Like, there's no point bringing them back exactly the next consecutive year unless they've got something that they feel as confident in as they have the year before. So people like Ulrika, for example, and I know we're going to get onto this, but someone like Axel, there is no point him competing in UMK this year just for the sake of it. He's got to have a song that is just as strong as Looking Back was. And so if someone wants to compete in Sanremo for Eurovision this year, then what they need to then do is create a song that is just as good and bring it to another Sanremo.
Yeah. I think, it's perfectly valid. Speaking of Axel, shall we move on?
Yes, I think that's probably for the best.
Because Liar Liar, Pants on Fire, because Axel is competing in UMK, although he previously said he wasn't.
He was keeping us on the suspense, wasn't he?
Honestly, I'm absolutely living for it. I'm so here for him trolling the entire fandom and beyond. I know I've said this before. Looking Back is one of my favourite songs of 2020. I think it's currently in my 5th place of the year. So I am so happy to see him back. I am absolutely delighted he's coming back. And I hope he dabs on the haters. Is that what young people say nowadays? Do you dab on the haters?
Me, I'm just blocking out the haters.
I hope the song he releases is fantastic, and I hope he does very well with it, and I hope he basically takes all of the shit he was given last year by Erika Vickman fans and completely just does something he can be really proud of.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, no, sorry, Desi. Yeah, I'm just really happy just to have Axel back. I think, he was given so much unnecessary hate purely for the fact that, he managed to beat out Cicciolina. And, of course, given how the demographics of this fandom usually play out, of course, they were going to be incredibly catty, and they were going to be incredibly mean and unnecessarily hateful, and fair play to him for coming back again and, actually just trying to defend himself, like, both in terms of the competition and in terms of his own sort of integrity. I'm really looking forward to seeing what his song is going to be. Hopefully it's going to be as good as Looking Back, because recently I've actually started to like Looking Back. I mean, I kind of go, like, hot and cold with Looking Back, but at the moment I'm kind of in love with it, so fingers crossed he keeps the sort of same sort of similar vibes going.
Obviously Axel is not the only artist competing in UMK. We have 6 other artists, which are Blind Channel, Danny, who is the ex-partner of Erika Vickman from last year,
Awkward.
Ilta, Oscar, Teflon Brothers and Pandora, and former Estonian representative in 2017, Laura. By the time this podcast comes out, we will have heard 4 songs. These will be Oscar's Lie, the Teflon Brothers and Pandora, I Love You, Danny Wistina Pavina Kalkatai Rakastabmua, and Laura's Play. So what are we thinking we're going to... What are we thinking of Oscar and Teflon Brothers songs, and what are we thinking we're going to get from Danny and Laura?
Both Lie and I Love You. Again, neither have really grabbed me yet. And again, something I was planning on saying earlier and then didn't actually say when I had the opportunity to. The only song so far this entire national final season that has really grabbed me and gone, you need to pay attention to this, is Monument. And yes, I know I'm a huge fan of Kano, but still something about that is just sort of a level above everything else I've heard. And I feel exactly the same about both Lie and I Love You. I think Lie is lovely. I think it's really beautifully produced. I think it's very sort of quite calm, and I like it a lot. And I think I Love You is really fun. I love that sort of retro aesthetic. I think it sort of slightly falls down on the chorus, because just saying the words "I love you, baby, baby, I love you" over and over again, I feel like they could do more with it. And I feel like either having more lyrics or translating the words into Finnish so that you can't necessarily tell what the lyrics are if you don't speak Finnish. I think that would make it a more successful song. I'm going to be really interested to see how they stage it. I think that will be really interesting. And I'm excited for the songs that are going to be coming out. I am very excited to hear Axel's song. I'm excited to hear Ilta's song, because I think that will be very much my sort of thing. And also Blind Channel as well. I think that'll be really exciting. I don't know a lot about Danny's style, and Laura, again, it should be fun, but I'm not quite as interested in her yet as I am about the others. But maybe she will prove me wrong, and I really hope she does, because more good music is more good music.
Yeah. I am really hyped for Blind Channel, who are described as like this violent pop thing. Now, I really liked AWS. I really liked Hattery, and I'm expecting something quite rocky. So I'm really excited for this. I think I'm going to absolutely love it, and so excited. Of the 2 songs I've heard so far, I will surprise you. I prefer Lie, and I feel people would think I would absolutely love I Love You, and I do. But Lie just grabbed me, and it's, other than Monument, it's the only song where I've listened to it multiple times. I don't know if it's because it has like that Germany 2018, Ireland 2018 feel, and I really liked both those songs as well. But yeah, Lie is one of the 2 songs which I have listened to multiple times since it came out, and I absolutely adore it. But I do think I'm going to like Blind Channel's song more, so I'm already pretty sad.
I'm going to shock both of you and then say that I actually don't like any of those songs that have come out so far. I
just thought you may have liked I Love You.
I mean, the thing, like, I like the aesthetic. I like the... You can easily tell the sort of daddy effect happening now, especially, like,
absolutely,
you know, with, like, Finland, obviously, with this, and then in Lithuania, we had Wish, and then as well, like, you've just seen it. You see it so much, and it's so present in every other sort of national selection. There's been at least one song that's been somewhat 80s inspired. I think out of the 2 that I've listened to and the 2 that have currently been released as of when we're recording, I prefer I Love You more so than Lie, but again, it's just the the repetitiveness of like, I love you, I love you, baby, I love you, I love you, I love you, and then just at the end she just decides to like just say Minaraka Stansinua. It's a bit boring. I'm not going to lie. You know, they could have, you know, had a little bit more diversity. I mean, in the rap parts, in the verses, it's a lot more interesting, you know, because they speak about like Ukrainians and they speak about Tirana and they speak like there's so much else that's going on, but the chorus is going to be the thing that people latch onto. And so
Yeah.
I can see the rationale, but also at the same time, it just keeps going. It just goes on and on and on and on and on. I'm looking forward to seeing what else is there. Obviously Axel as well, as I've talked about. But I'm mostly quite looking forward to seeing how Laura is going to be as well, because if Laura was to win UMK and represent Finland, this would be her third time at Eurovision and her third time representing a different country, because she was in Switzerland 2005, Estonia 2017, and then potentially Finland 2021. So who knows? Also,
What?
Imagine if Koitume won Estilal and she won UMK.
And only one of them qualified.
oh, we
Wait, are they in
lost
the same semi-final?
Rotterdam.
Yes, they are.
Oh my god. Oh.
Same as last year, isn't it? I think Finland and Estonia were both in semi-2 last year.
Yeah,
Oh my god.
it's gonna be
Imagine,
interesting.
no. Do you know what would be even more interesting? If one of them came 10th and the other came 11th.
Oh, are we planting seeds again?
I'm kind of planting that seed because that would kind of be drama.
Oh god.
I do think Estilal can do better though,
Mm,
I
as
would
far
hope-
as song selection
Yeah.
goes.
I mean, I would hope they would.
just before we move on to our last two countries, let it just be known that Danny, for reference, as he might look young and seductive and whatever like that, but the last time we saw him was actually the first time that Finland actually ever had a national selection, all the way back in the 60s. So that just goes to show, you know, I mean, I'm not saying anything, but, you know, you can participate at any age. Let's just put it that way.
Because it's 8, but to be fair, when I've looked at him, I thought, he doesn't look 78.
No, he looks great for his age.
So we will go into the Melfest and Estilal running orders now. I feel to keep it short and snappy, we'll just go into the big ones of which songs are closing each semi-final, because that is usually the point of interest. These are Danny Sorsteiko's Dandy Dancer for semi-final 1, Dotter with Little Tot for semi-final 2, 2C with Voices, which is kind of a surprise because he's a newcomer to Melfest. Is closing semi-final 3, and Eric Sade, who represented Sweden in 2011, is closing semi-4. These are often the songs where people think, oh, these have big chances to do well within Melfest. The only one that surprises me is obviously semi-final 3. I'd have thought maybe they'd have gone with Charlotte Pirelli, who had also represented the country in 2008 and won the contest in 1999, but she is opening semi-3 instead. So, yeah, I think very simple there. The Mamas are song 4 in semi-final 4 with their song In the Middle. So they're
Which
in
is great.
They're in the... Yeah.
That's got putting Sarah McTurnan with 22 second in the second semi-final.
Oh.
It's got that energy.
we don't need to premonition here.
Yeah. So
I have absolutely nothing to say on this. It'll be my first time properly following Melfest, and I'm just looking forward to hearing the songs and seeing who's going to be competing.
I'm just very glad that they've let the Mamas compete at Estilal this year.
Estilal.
The Mamas competing at Estilal.
Melfest, sorry. Melfest. Sorry.
Oh, that's great.
It's because I was getting that up for the next section.
Yeah, don't worry.
So
No, I'm kind of a bit similar. I mean, I'm kind of surprised that, they haven't gone with Charlotte Pirelli to close the third semi-final. I'm as obviously because we don't have any songs to listen to yet, we can't really speak about anything. But I've said people who've known me for a long time in the fandom, they will know that Anton Ewald can step on me left, right, and center, and I'm not going to stop that, okay?
yeah. Another country has also revealed its running orders. If you didn't hear my slip up just then, you will know that is Estonia with SD Lal. We are now talking about SD Lal. Don't
Hooray.
worry. I feel the points to note are the former representatives, Tanya from 2014 and Koitume from 2017 and 1996. I may have got that completely wrong. I know he competed in the 90s with a song called Mere Laps. I'm not sure what year it was. I think it was 1996.
There's another one as well.
There's another two.
There's another two?
He's competed a lot, basically.
Yeah.
I could see him winning it again just because he seems popular in Estonia. I don't think it's the best choice that's there, but Estonia, for me, often don't go with the best choice that they have in their selection, as we saw last year. Uku is back with his song The Lucky One. He will be competing in Semi 2, along with Yuri Tutsman, who is competing with his song Magnus Melhulia. Obviously, he came last in 2016's Eurovision. He would be hoping if he did get to Eurovision, he would do a little bit better. And I think he would. Obviously, on a previous podcast, I think they've gone over the Estilal songs.
Yeah, we pretty much have. I will say, though, I'm just looking at the draws for the semi-finals. I am absolutely so happy to see that all of my favorites are all in the second semi-final. So it means that I don't necessarily have to watch the first semi-final.
You can live tweet for the second one because I can guess who will be live tweeting for the first.
Who could that be?
Because you're gonna put.
Yeah, no. Personally, I like how they're pretty much structured. I think there's a good lot of diversity shared among both semifinals, and my personal favorite is that we have the two former Estilal winners coming and surrounding and definitely tanking Alabama Watchdog, which if you've already listened to one of our podcasts before, you'll know that we're not necessarily the biggest fans of it. Although I will say my favorite, I'm very much looking forward to the final song of semi-final 2 because those backing vocalists, they deserve their spot. They deserve their spot in the sunshine.
Right, because I think Uku and Yuri, I think are probably also the two big favourites to win SDLAL, just simply because they're so popular in Estonia. So I'm so glad that they've done that, and I do think they've done that on purpose, which you got to stand Estonia for.
I have nothing to add on this topic.
Fabulous.
I think that's all for the news. So...
Is that everything?
Yeah.
Fantastic. Right, so that takes us to the end of the news section.
And is that the end of the podcast?
Yes. Yes, so that also does take us to the end of this episode of that Eurovision podcast. Thank you very much to Jazzy for sort of collecting all of the news and delivering it so fabulously. And also thanks as well to Rosie as well for also contributing and everything, and it's fantastic. I can't wait for us to get actually properly stuck into all of the nitty-gritty of national final season, even if it is in unprecedented times. Um, but yeah. In the meantime, please do continue to follow us on all of our social media. We're on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter at That Euro Podcast. We're also on Spotify and Apple Podcasts as well. So please do follow us there, so you always get notified for whenever a new episode comes out. And yeah, in the next few weeks, we'll be kind of carrying on with these sort of recap video
Of the week.
podcasts as well, and we'll also have a few other options as well, just to keep you a little bit satisfied. However,
If you don't follow us on Twitter, you should follow us on Twitter because we live tweet semi-finals, national finals on there as well. So come for the memes.
Please do. It helps our engagement.
Come for the puns. You know you want to hear. You know you want to see my puns.
Exactly. You
I
know,
posted a Postman Pat images the other day.
Trust me, if you're not following us on Twitter, you're missing out. Okay. Also, just one extra little bit of news just for us. We are going to be moving our publishing day from a Tuesday to a Saturday, so that all of the news comes out as fresh as possible, so you're all ready to go for your national finals on a Saturday evening. So please do prepare for that, and please do remember that is a thing. And yeah, so shall we all say goodbye?
Bye.